Hi guys, I'm going to show you our workflow and what we need. So basically, during our event, there's a huge stadium. It's the T-Mobile Arena in Vegas, and there are 5 screens, main screens. It's the cube, the floor, the end zones, and the ribbons, these long ones. And usually how we work with this is, and there's a whole bunch, like this, it's called a set. So this is the first set, second set, third set, and this is all for day one. And then we have the other sets for day 2, and we have sets for day 3. So there's quite a lot of screens, and they're all very, very big. So, for example, this is our After Effects files for day 4 ambient. So it's one set of designs for one part of the show. So basically, the cube, for example, has 2 sides. It's using the same render, we just flip it, but basically this is the size. It's 3840 by 2688, so it's almost like a 4K type render. It's pretty big. Usually we render, this is, let me just, see, my machine's already complaining about memory, which is a pain in the butt. So let me just delete that. Okay. Let me just pause. So basically, this is about between 10 and 20 seconds long for the animation. This one specifically is more of a loop, but we have other ones that are more like a transitional element, which is much shorter. And I can show you, this is a test we did for a transition, so it's more between 8 and 10 seconds. So for the delivery, we have to render each of these screens by themselves. So we have cube A, cube B, we have the end zones, which we render out like this, but then we also render out a raster, which means both end zones are together, and in their system they'll map it on the floor, like end zone X and end zone Y here on the left. You'll see it. It's actually one image, but because the floor is lower res than the top part, it's a different size. So how we usually do is we'll take these guys, we'll put in the render queue like this, and then what we'll do is we already have a preset called HapQ or Hap Alpha or whatever the Hap is we need to use. Right now we're using Hap MOV. So in the way we set it up, we're using aftercodecs.mov. It's a plugin we use to get Hap as a codec to compress. It's one of these toggles down. This won't appear in After Effects if the plugin is not there. So we had to buy this plugin. Then we go into format options, and there are a few options here, but we're using these two, and there should be another one called Hap A for alpha, which I don't have yet because it's a new plugin and I need to install it, but that's basically the option. So everything here is what we need. We need 422, we need H.264, and we need HapQ. So ideally, that's what we want to render out. So all of them needs to be rendered out in, why does it not want to go? What is happening? Why doesn't it want to close? I had to say, okay. All right, so this is the first level. Then we also like to add a module that is 422, which for on a preset here, it's 422. And then again, add another output module called H.264. And the H.264 is what we send to the client. It's very low res. The colors aren't always perfect, and that is just as a preview, because these are pretty big and it's difficult to view high res. So 3 output modules. With After Effects, it works like you render one and it automatically renders the other 2 at the same time. So it's not usually taking more time, it's the same amount of time. So that's kind of nice. File structure wise, we will tell this to go, this is where you say output 2. We'll tell it to go to delivery to QC, and for example, this is day 2, so it's day 2 scenics, and it'll be all here. And we'll render in that folder. So in our folder structure, this is our folder structure. Our production is in number 2, and our delivery is in number 3. So this is where we put it into QC. And once it's right, I've made a test here just to show how we do it. Let me just go back. we have a mock-up, which is the H.264. Then we have the ProRes, we have the HAP, we have the H.264. The mock-up is the actual, looks like this, but the H.264 is the full screens that will be rendered in there. And then we use ProRes to QC, because ProRes has a very low compression, and it is kind of the best way of viewing colors. And then if the ProRes are good, then we'll take the HAP. We'll just do a quick QC to make sure it doesn't look weird. We'll use the HAP and send it to the client. Or this is the part that is the final delivery that they use on the screens. HAP is a very specific codec that you can't open on many machines unless you have, we're using Resolume Alley. And what we do is we'll just drag it in here and we will view it like that. This one is, I don't know why, oh, there we go. So that's how it looks. And this is also one of the reasons we use 422 or ProRes 422. This one is because this one we can view on anyone's machine and we can just quickly view it. Also, if there is a mistake or if we're running out of time, we can reuse this and recompress to a HAP. But HAP, once you compress to HAP, you can't really use it for anything else. That's kind of what it is. Also, what ProRes is nice, say they tell us, oh, we need a PNG sequence, then we can just use these ones that we already rendered and just re-export this PNG sequence. So the other thing is also our folder structure. So I know with render farms, basically we'll set up this render, we'll have to zip it, collect all the files, zip it, put it in a render farm. But this is not ideal for us, because the problem is that means we're going to have a duplicate of all the files and a duplicate of the After Effects files that we rendered in the cloud, and there's always duplicates of things that we don't know what's the recent render, where is the recent files that we uploaded, downloaded. It's just really a pain in the butt. So ideally we want to keep everything exactly where we are working with it. So for example, right now we're working with Event Scenics, Day 4, After Effects, and that's our setup. So this is the file I'm working on right now. So we don't want to move that, we don't want to zip it, we don't want to collect it, we literally just want to use that. If there's a mistake and I have to re-render, I'll rename this to 007 and reset up all these renders to our delivery folder, to QC, and that, there will be this is maybe not so organized right now because I've been doing tests, but this will be a dated folder or it will be category folder. So ideally I want, if there's a cloud machine or whatever you call it, I'd like it just to, because all these files, this is our OneDrive system, so it's all in the cloud and it gets updated every minute, so this is all up to date, it's in the cloud, and I'd like the system to know exactly where our source files are and it's not collecting it on a duplicate. So the easy way to find out where the source files are is, can just quickly show, this is one of our compositing files and this is our PNG sequence. So our PNG sequence gets thrown into assets, and this is Reveal in Explorer. It's always in, oh, this is a bad example because this is one of our freelancers who don't really use the right format, but basically our design elements would be in source here. And for example, here is endzone Y, and there's a whole bunch of PNG sequences that we'll use within this file. So all our source elements are always in _source in the day's folder structure. So it's very organized, and we want to ideally keep it as it is. So if it was us and we don't have any fancy way of rendering, all that we'll do is we'll just set this up, tell it to go to delivery, and we'll press render. Alternatively, we'll use this plugin called Render Garden. Render Garden is a plugin that uses your GPU rendering instead of your CPU rendering. Since After Effects is not really made for GPU rendering, it can't force the CPU. It can't force the GPU to kick in. So basically, Render Garden forces to open up your GPU, and you can decide how many seeds you want, which means it it splits up your, this is how I think it works, it splits up your GPU into segments, and it renders out those segments. So you can say plant seeds, and then this is not working because I need to set it up the right way, but it opens up terminals to render. Each of these terminals is a piece of your part of your GPU that's using to render. The problem with this is it's okay for what we're using, but it definitely is not very user friendly. You can't see the progress at all. I mean, it does show progress, but it's, you know, it renders random frames. It's not like rendering in a specific order, and you don't know if there's a crash on the one. It will say it fails, and then you need to, this is no ways to know if your render has failed or not. It just keeps running, but you know, there's always issues, and I think we can probably QC a little bit more, but it's not, you know, it's not ideal. But it really saved us a lot last year by just speeding things up. So that's how we do it the old-fashioned way, I guess. I think that's all. I think ideally just how we can get these guys to render an automation type way, and not having to zip anything up and having duplicate files. Yeah, I think that's all. I think hope it makes sense. Thank you. Bye.